Announcement. Check up my backup channel. Link in the description. It will have normal revenge as well as some revenges on cheaters. Also more spicy stories not fit for YouTube on my Patreon. I am 29 years old and my ex Jeff is 25. I will refer to her as Sandra in this post to maintain anonymity. Sandra and I had been together for almost 2 years, but broke up a few weeks before our second anniversary. For me, my relationship with Sandra wasn't just a fling or to kill boredom. I was very sincere with her, just because I truly loved her. Since the beginning, I have been attracted to her bubbly personality. She was my polar opposite. I am more of an introvert who likes to stay organized and plan every detail of the day. In contrast, she was a social butterfly and spontaneous who never cared about scheduling her day, etc. Not going to lie, we argued a lot about our opposite traits, but with time, we understood each other's nature and accepted that none of us would change and constant arguments would eventually lead us apart. Hence, we decided not to interfere with our habits and lifestyle. I was okay with this arrangement, but I guess deep down Sandra was not okay with how I was, but she never said anything about it. Another thing that bothered me about her was her past relationship. Don't get me wrong, I am not the kind of guy that holds grudges or gets uneasy about a GF's past affairs or love history. I am pretty mature about it, but what bugged me was she had tons of pictures of her ex-boyfriend on her phone gallery, Facebook, and even Instagram. I told her I was uncomfortable with the picture of her and her ex-boyfriend on social platforms. But she didn't take them down because she likes to record significant life events on social life. Plus, most of those pictures also showed her traveling to different cities for the first time. So, they were important to her. Anyways, I never forced her to take it down. I just felt a bit uneasy when she showed me the memories that came on her Facebook profile. A little background about Sandra's past relationship. She was in a relationship with her college friend and lived together for around a year, but then the guy cheated on Sandra and she found out about it and confronted the guy. Instead of apologizing or feeling embarrassed for his actions, the guy shamelessly told Sandra that he had slept with so many girls in their relationship that he had lost count. Sandra had a hard time overcoming this heartbreak, and it took her a few months to move on and start dating again. Her ex had left the city, and Sandra had cut off contact with him. She often shared with me how her ex was a narcissist and didn't care about her feelings. So our relationship was going good. No big fights or disagreements, at least not on my part. But then I started noticing some strange behavior in Sandra. I guess it started after our first anniversary together as a couple. We didn't live together. I wasn't in favor of moving together in the initial phase of our relationship. I was afraid that maybe I was Sandra's rebound, and she didn't want to continue the relationship with me for the long term. But then, we both decided to live separately because our apartments were closer to our workplaces. But we stayed over at each other's place on the weekends. I started noticing that on some weekends, she would completely turn down the idea of me coming over to her place or cancelling our plans by making an excuse that she wasn't feeling well, her friends were coming over, or she would stay at her mom's place. At first, it was all acceptable, and I didn't feel like something was fishy, but then it started happening more often, like she would cancel on me half the time, and we would only spend 1 or 2 weekends together each month. I tried asking her if everything was alright or if she'd like to discuss anything, but she told me everything was okay every time. On weekdays she was super busy with work, so she hung out with her family and friends on weekends. I was again okay with it. We both were grown-ups and mature and understood that we had other relationships in life except for spending time with each other. But then something strange happened. My bathroom had a leakage issue and it needed to be fixed. The landlord told me that he'd get it fixed by the plumber, but I couldn't use the bathroom for at least 24 hours. I needed a place to crash for a few hours, and I called Sandra to say that I was coming over to her place, and she instantly refused. She was out of breath, and I told her that it was just for a day, and I'd go back to my place the following day. She reluctantly agreed, and I felt awkward that my GF was denying me to come over to her place. When I went to her place, she was in her undies and t-shirt, which was strange because it was 9 p.m. and she never retires to bed this early. Plus, her hair was a total mess, and when I went to her bedroom, it was unkempt, with pillows sprawled on the floor. I asked her what she was doing, and she said she was cleaning her room and making her bed when I knocked. I helped her make her bed and then went to use the restroom and saw something strange. I saw her ex's silver bracelet near the wash basin. I knew it was her ex's bracelet because she had told me that she had gifted it to him, and he always wore it. I also remembered him wearing the bracelet in some of the photos I had seen of him with Sandra. My first instinct was that her ex, let's name him John, was here to meet Sandra and use her restroom. I grabbed the bracelet, angrily stormed out of the restroom, and asked Sandra about the bracelet, and she was puzzled to see me in a bad mood. But she quickly composed herself and told me she was cleaning her closet and found it, and she decided to clean up this bracelet and sell it, so she kept it in the bathroom. I was convinced, and she felt relieved to see my tensed muscles relax. But then she got offended that I doubted her sincerity towards me, and it took me a good time to convince her, not to mention that I had to take her shopping and buy her an expensive dinner at her favorite restaurant. A few weeks later, I was at work and got a WhatsApp message from Sandra. She had sent an image, and when I opened it, she had sent her nude picture to me with the message, "Excited for tonight." I thought she was teasing me and wanted me to come to her place. I sent her a wink emoji and couldn't wait to go to her place. But when I reached her place, she wasn't at home. I called her to ask where she was, and she told me she was at her friend's place. I told her that if she had plans for tonight, why did she send me her provocative images and invite me over? To which she replied that she hadn't sent any image or message. I told her she had sent me her image on WhatsApp, but she denied it straight away and said I was making up things. We both hung up and I was extremely angry with her. I left work early so I could spend time with her, but she doesn't recall sending me that message. And then it struck me that what if she had sent that message to someone else? I didn't want to ask her straight on her face because that would make her angry. I replied to her WhatsApp image to remind her that she had sent me a message and I wasn't hallucinating. A few minutes later, Sandra called to apologize and said that her friend had forwarded her image to me and she knew nothing about it. I was so angry at her friend for viewing her gallery and forwarding Sandra's nude images to me. I told Sandra to put a password on her phone so her images stay safe and do not leak. But Sandra, being Sandra, always reckless, didn't pay any attention to my advice. Things were again going okay and nothing unusual happened. She said she would stay at her mom's for a week because her mother was sick and needed help with house chores and cooking. I dropped her at her mother's place and she told me she'd be back to her place by the end of the week. Sandra and I talked over messages that week and told her that I wanted to meet her, but she denied every single time that she was busy or her mother wasn't feeling well. I even asked if I could come over to meet her mom, but she strictly told me not to because she hadn't told her mom about us. She had just told her mom that we were friends and nothing more. I felt bad. I mean, why wouldn't she tell her mother about our relationship? But I didn't create drama out of it. One day, I received a message from an unknown number on WhatsApp. It was a simple hello, followed by I need to talk to you. I messaged her back and asked her how she was. Sandra and her sister weren't really close. According to Sandra, her little sister, fake name, Maria, was insecure because of her weight and skin problems, so she never got along well with her. Maria told me she wanted to tell me something and asked if I was free. I said yes, and she sent me some pictures, screenshots of messages and videos. I opened them and was stunned to see they were Sandra's pictures with her ex, John. I read the screenshots of their chats, and they had been seeing and screwing each other for months behind my back. John came to her place several times a week, or she would go to his place to spend the weekend. I quickly messaged Maria and asked her where she had gotten these images, and she said she got all this stuff from Sandra's cell phone. And honestly, I had no reason to doubt her because Sandra never put a lock on her phone, so it was pretty easy for Maria to access her phone and send me all the images. What hurt me the most was that she had sent her nude pictures to John to entice him to sleep with her, and she had told John that she and I were just friends with benefits and slept together. We don't have any emotional bond. So I was just her sleeping partner and nothing more. I messaged Maria and asked if I could call her, and she agreed. I asked her why she sent me those messages, and at first she said that she wanted to let me know what kind of person I was dating, but that was, of course, bullshit because she didn't know anything about me. But she told me she wanted to get back at her sister for not believing in her and bashing her when John broke up with her. So, this John guy had sent filthy messages and his naked pictures to Maria and even tried coming on to her when Sandra wasn't around. Maria was traumatized and wanted to tell her sister about her jerk boyfriend, but she knew that Sandra would side with John. So, when they broke up, John told Sandra that he had slept with her sister too, and they had done it several times. Maria and Sandra had a big fight, and Sandra said mean things to her, that she was jealous of her relationship and slept with John so he would break up with Sandra. Maria told her she hadn't slept with that scumbag and that he always hinted at getting into her pants. But Sandra didn't believe her and said that John would never flirt with an overweight and average girl like Maria. Maria then asked me to contact John and tell him that Sandra was sleeping with 2 guys and keeping the other one in the dark. She asked me to tell John that Sandra and I have been dating for 2 years and are planning to get engaged. I was hurt by Sandra and told Maria I needed time to think about ending with Sandra. I felt really disappointed. I really liked Sandra and saw a future with her, but I was a backup option to her. She kept 2 boyfriends, so if she lost one, she would have the other one. I felt so stupid for believing in all her lies and trusting her. I felt so angry at myself that I was being toyed with by her, and she must laugh at me for being so gullible and hanging on to every word she said, like when she made the excuse of cleaning her unkempt bed or her friend sent me her nude picture. I wanted to teach her a lesson like I wanted to show Sandra that I wasn't sincere or loyal with her either, and that I was also fooling around with other girls. I just wanted to imply to her that she wasn't the special one for me, and she was just one of my many affairs. I knew this would break her heart and drive her mad. I had known her well enough in the past 2 years that she loved attention, and it made her high when people gave her their undivided attention and love. She enjoyed it when I told her she was the only one. But now I'll show her that I was lying and that she was foolish to believe me. The only problem was that I needed to start a relationship with someone, and honestly, I didn't want to go on dates with random strangers or creeps from Tinder or dating apps. Then I got such an amazing idea that was perfect to get back at my girlfriend. I decided to start a relationship with her sister, sleep with her, and send Sandra pictures of her sister in bed with me. I know it was a wicked idea, and I probably had to mess with her sister's feelings and head, but I needed to get back at Sandra, and at that moment, I didn't care about anyone else. The thought of Sandra going mad over me and her sister was so rewarding that I decided to continue my plan. And honestly, Maria made things quite easier for me, and I didn't have to do much to flirt with her. That's because she was also interested in talking with me. She would message me now and then to ask if I had broken up with Sandra, and to inform John about her. I told Maria I wouldn't leave Sandra unless she broke up. I explained that I was up for it if Sandra wanted me to sleep with her and be her backup boyfriend. Maria was quite surprised and reminded me of how I was vindictive a few days before, and now I am settling for what Sandra wants. Of course, I couldn't tell her I was planning to sleep with her. Anyways, I started talking more and more to Maria, and I got the vibe that this 19-year-old girl was attracted to me. She would message me daily or ask me out for coffee or lunch. She was a nice girl and had a similar nature to mine. Also, she wasn't as social as her sister. We both liked talking to each other, and every day, Sandra was going mad at me for not answering her calls or taking her out anymore. I hated seeing her name on my phone screen, but I had to pretend to continue our relationship to show her that I was fooling with her sister. And I finally got the right opportunity. Maria showed up at my apartment one day. I was quite surprised because she didn't inform me or anything. We talked for a little while, and then she came on to me. I tried stopping her and telling her I didn't have feelings for her and looked at her as my friend, but she said she liked me and wanted to do it anyway. One thing led to another, and we ended up doing it. I felt so good after that. It felt like I avenged myself by cheating on Sandra with her sister. Now I had the perfect opportunity to show Sandra what I was up to. I received her call one day, and she lashed out at me for being unresponsive and not caring about her. I turned on my charm and was super sweet with her. Then we both planned a movie night at my place, and I told Sandra I would arrange everything. She was excited and looking forward to our plan. But I had some other plans in my mind. I called Maria and invited her over too. We spent a lot of time together, and when it was time for Sandra to come, I initiated the deed, and Maria didn't stop me, so we went to our bedroom, and I deliberately didn't lock the door. We were in the middle of the deed, and I ensured Maria could be as noisy as possible. And before we could finish, Sandra walked into my bedroom and was frozen to see me banging her sister. The same was the case with Maria. She was stunned to see her sister witnessing her in this situation. Sandra had lost her temper. She accused me of cheating on her and not caring about her feelings. I almost laughed at her face and told her she had been doing the same behind my back for months. She was stunned, and I showed her the dirty messages she and her ex had been exchanging. She said that Maria had fabricated those screenshots, which weren't real, and she even lunged at Maria to hit her. She would have hit Maria with anything to make her suffer if I had not stopped her. To incite more fire in Sandra's anger, I told her that Maria and I had been sleeping for 2 months now, and before that, I was sleeping with my colleague and often went to her place. Sandra was fuming and cursing me every second, but it all felt good. I gave Sandra the taste of her medicine, and she was going Madison, and she was going maniac. Before leaving, she told me that she was glad that John was back in her life and that she didn't need me because I was an old man trapped in a young man's body. She said I was boring and lived my life like a grandpa. Ouch! I took care of that John guy too. I called him when Sandra left and told him that Sandra was also screwing me when she was with him. I also lied to him and told him that Sandra was carrying my child and had broken up with me, so sooner or later she would hold John responsible for her pregnancy. I told John to make the right decision because having a child means a lot of responsibility and expenses. I painted an uneasy picture for him, and he was angry at Sandra for being with me while she was with him. John told me that Sandra had told him that she was single and not seeing anyone, so they started their affair. A week later, Maria told me that John had also dumped Sandra and blocked her number. Sandra was a mess, and Maria and I were happy about it. Maria and I still see each other, and she likes me and wants me to think about her. I don't know how I feel about her. She is my ex's sister, plus 10 years younger than me. Has anyone ever experienced this situation of dating your ex's siblings? Does it go well or end up in a catastrophic situation? The biggest lesson from this story is, of course, to subscribe to my channel, as well as like and comment your opinion under the video. Everything helps for the algorithm. Don't forget about Patreon.